Talofa lava, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susanna Suisuiki. Coming up.
She arrived and she said thanks to us, and she said her parents is very happy.
A Samoan student makes it home safely from Israel also.
And they would usher in the year of abundance, the period of abundance.
Tahiti will officially celebrate Matarii in November, and competition gets underway at the Pacific Mini Games in Palau. A Samoan citizen has returned home safely from Israel amid airspace closures and unrest in the Middle East. Bolino Faleva'ai from Samoa's scientific research organisation had been in Israel for a 10-month agricultural research training. I spoke with security officer Vincent Schmidt in Israel, who helped with Bolino Faleva'ai's repatriation.
Yeah, I think it's a teamwork, myself and other Samoans from here in Israel, plus our Samoan embassy, the ambassador Francella Strickland from Belgium, and also our Ministry of Foreign Affairs from Samoa. So it was like a big teamwork together just to help out to the sister when she was stranded here.
How difficult was it to arrange for Bolino's repatriation?
Yeah, I think the hardest part is because the airspace was locked down, so there was no more airlines to depart and entering the airspace of Israel. So the only option that we look at is just to find a way for her to exit via the neighbor country, like either Jordan or Egypt, because those airspaces were kind of open during the war. So that's the first thing that we look in it. And with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from Samoa, reach out to New Zealand and Australia, because those are the countries that they have their repatriation flight, just to in touch with them if there any spot for her. And I think the New Zealand and Australia, they responded. They said, yeah, they would keep us posted about all the schedules and the time of the flight. But it all depends on the situation, because when you talk about airspace, the rockets can come on top of Jordan or come the other side from Egypt. It all depends. So it's kind of guessing and try to have a close monitoring the situation and see what's the best option to take for Bolino.
Yeah. And when exactly does she depart Israel?
I think it was last week, Wednesday. It was like she got a ticket confirmed on the Monday, and then the war break off on the Friday. So, and then it's the Wednesday, Thursday, I believe. Like they have a road trip from her place had to go through the border, to cross the border down south of Israel, to go through Cairo. And knowing like all those places, they have a lot of checkpoints, a lot of military checkpoints. I think she went through that, and we keep telling her like, hey, that's your way home. So whatever you're going through, just make sure you're going home. Don't worry about anything. You'll be home. And I think it took her for almost 4 days to reach home from here in Israel.
So since she's been back in Samoa, have you heard from her?
Yeah, we have our chat group. Like we have a couple of Samoans here in Israel, and also Paulina was in our chat group. So she arrived and she said thanks to us, and she said her parents is very happy, and it's good to be back home. And I was kind of jealous because I want to come home as well, but I will wait for my time to go home. But she's good, she's happy. I don't think she got her suitcases, because I think she lost her suitcases down the way, down the one of the, or maybe from Dubai to Sydney, or so she's still waiting for her suitcase.
Good to hear that she's happy and she's reunited with her family. Vincent, I was just wondering, are there any other Pacifica students or people who are still waiting to be evacuated? But the reason why I ask this is because I got in touch with Solomon Island students, and they were still waiting to hear back from their embassies.
To be honest, like I think the program that when she was here, there's a lot of Pacific Islanders. The Fijians, Solomons, a couple of people from East Timor and all those regions. But when the war break up, man, the only person that I was so concerned about is her. And I was on top of the communication, and then make sure she's okay, make sure there's a bomb shelter for safety, because I'm security here. So I was so concerned about all people, and especially her. And it was it was a smooth operation, I should say that. And it went really good, and I feel good. When I found out like he arrived home safely, I felt so good about it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but I'm not really sure. I think they still have some other Pacific Islanders down south next to the Dead Sea because that's where the school located.
Mm.
So I'm not really sure. It was, as I say, like the first person like I was, reach out is Polino. I just want to make sure like she's okay.
Okay.
So yeah.
What's it like between Israel and Iran at the moment? They have a ceasefire in place?
Yeah, right now I think this is the fourth or the fifth day of the ceasefire, and they both country they monitor the situation, and also America they also monitor, make sure like who's gonna violate the ceasefire. But so far, everything's fine, and like it's a very unpredictable situation. Things can happen at any time. Rockets can fly at any time. So here in Jerusalem, slowly business opening up. I see some people, the houses, family, they start walking on the street. But before it was like a desert land, like everyone was staying home. There's no movements at all during the war.
For the first time, Tahiti will mark Matarii as a national public holiday in November. Following in the footsteps of Matariki in Aotearoa, Matarii i Ni'a will usher in the season of abundance, which lasts for 6 months, which is then followed by Matarii i Raro, the season of scarcity. I spoke to Tahitian artist Te Maraikura Whakataka Brightwell about Matarii.
Yes, so this is the first, I guess, official government recognition of Matariki in Tahiti, but Tahitians have known about Matariki or Matarii for centuries. It comes from the Arioi clan traditions, so they were, a group of artists and diplomats and also navigators and high priests, and they would usher in the year of abundance, the period of abundance. So everybody sort of like adheres to that and knows about that. In Tahiti, essentially, traditionally, and now, that's still sort of observed as 2 seasons. So 6 months of the year, it's the season of abundance, and 6 months of the year, it's the season of scarcity. So Matarii i Ni'a is the season of abundance, and Matarii i Raro is the season of scarcity. So Matariki rising or Matariki below. And when the Matarii i Ni'a comes through in the sky in November, they basically celebrate abundance and everything. The flowers are abundant, the fish life is abundant, and everything is sort of like in that vibe.
So during those 6 months, people are harvesting and fishing a lot?
Yeah, so I mean, traditionally speaking, they would like do all of that during that Matarii i Ni'a period. So yeah, harvesting and fishing and also performing fertility rituals. So that was part of the Arioi clan's role, is to go to each island in each village to basically create fertility rituals. And that's sort of always been part of Tahitian life. I mean, now, post-colonization from the French, those sort of traditions have just been sort of more fragmented and not really observed in that particular way, but they're still well alive, truly alive, yeah.
So what's the response been like from locals in Tahiti at this new holiday?
Well, it's interesting because a few years ago they voted for a government that was very sort of Tahitian independence, and that was they campaigned on that platform. And then we saw Aotearoa obviously move towards celebrating Matariki, and then you had some prominent Māori figures that go over there and sort of meet with them and encourage them to do the same. And so, politically speaking, usually the Tahitians would, celebrate what they call the annexation of Tahiti to France on the 29th of June, and they've subsequently replaced that with Matariki. So basically moving away from this sort of idea of French annexation and French influence and going back towards sort of ancestral practices.
They must have been seen as controversial.
Well, so I guess some people, it's you got to understand the sort of geopolitical context in Tahiti. The French government control everything, although the Tahitian government, they call it an autonomous government. They basically don't have much, in terms of what they control. They control sort of internal portfolios, but things like, defense, immigration, infrastructure, education, all of that comes from France. And so a move away from this idea of French dominance in Tahiti in this sort of very poetic, celebratory way is a very Tahitian way of doing it, basically moving away from that. So it was only really controversial, I guess, for the people that adhere to the system, but for the majority of Tahitians, it was a welcome thing and something that was outdated, and something that they want to celebrate and go back to their traditional roots.
Yeah, would you say that there's a growing movement or active movement in Tahiti where people are reclaiming their cultural practices?
Yes, so in Tahiti, talking about the French education system, for example, like they sort of relegate Tahitian culture, language, dancing, music to a very sort of small aspect of that, and obviously the sort of old, tired colonial tropes about if you learn your indigenous language or do anything indigenous practices or anything that you're not going to get ahead in this sort of modern world. I think all of that is starting to crumble, in particular now in Tahiti, because they have maintained most of their traditional practices throughout. They are the majority, I guess, in terms of ethnicity in the region. And Tahiti itself is sort of like the hub of the government and sort of the central part of the region. But you're talking about 5 different island groups that have their own language, they have their own dances, and largely once you go out of the island of Tahiti, you'd find people that really speak their language. It's sort of like second nature. It's not something that they've learned. So the sort of idea that, Matarii, for example, is sort of like a thing that we've brought over here from Aotearoa in terms of a celebration, that's really not how they view it. It's just mainly in the main island of Tahiti where, sort of traditional practices or language is a little bit waning, but when you go to the outer islands, they're very much alive.
Just coming back to Matariki or Matarii, is there a connection with Aotearoa, how they observe Matariki?
Well, here I think we do sort of like a Maori practice of hautapu and coming together and, early in the morning and ushering in the stars. And I haven't seen that particular practice in Tahiti. It's more of like a known thing in terms of, intrinsic understanding of what the stars mean in terms of them being able to unleash the abundance. And so they basically, Tahitians, if you've been there, they've got a flair for the theatrics. They like parades, they like beauty queens. And so I'm pretty sure that that's what they're going to be doing. It's a little bit less, I guess, ceremonial at this point in time, but I'm pretty sure they'll be inspired by the Maori cousins and bring it back to those sorts of practices as well.
Competition at the 2025 Pacific Mini Games rolled off with swimming at the Palau swimming pool in Koroa on Monday morning. Close to 2,000 athletes braved the rain on Sunday night as Palau President Shirangua Whips Jr. declared the 12th edition of the Mini Games open. Swimming, va'a racing, wrestling, softball, volleyball and baseball were all on the program as athletes got into action. And our senior sports journalist Elisa Tora joins me for a talanoa on the thrills and the spills from the Mini Games.
Paula Eliasa, a colourful opening ceremony welcomed the Pacific to Koroa on Sunday. How did that turn out?
Yes, indeed, the 2025 Pacific Mini Games officially got underway today, Monday. With the opening competitions getting underway. But Sunday, of course, the opening ceremony launched in the capital city of Koroa with Palau President Shirangua Whips Jr. welcoming visitors and declaring the games open. He told the athletes that the competition is for them. He wished them well and hoped that they could celebrate high performances, celebrate the victory, and rise together as Pacifica at the event. Pidi Lakan of the Pacific Games Council also was at the opening ceremony and spoke and said that Pacifica is very fortunate at this time when there are wars, there are things happening across the globe, on the other side of the globe, yet in the Pacific we are celebrating at the games in Palau. A lot of color. There was rain, of course, during the opening ceremonies, but it didn't deter the athletes and the officials and the volunteers from turning up to be part of the opening ceremony. One of the highlights of the event was the presence of Tokelau's lone competitor, Ilai Elkana Manu, a 40-year-old judoka who marched by himself with his flag during the opening ceremony. He stood proudly at the event as the opening ceremony unfolded, and the thumbs up was given to him and to the other Pacifica contingents who are now in Coro competing at the 2025 Pacific Mini Games.
Great to hear that the opening ceremony went well, but we know that the competition started early on Monday. Are there any updates on results and any indication of who has won what?
Interestingly, Tahiti already making their mark in Coro. Te Moana Taputu claimed the first gold medal at the Games when he took part in the VA outrigger canoeing male 500 meters open competition. He claimed gold, and that also becomes the first gold medal to be won at the Pacific Game. Yes, the competition started 8:30 a.m. Palau time this morning, Monday morning, at the Palau swimming pool with swimming. There were competition also in VA, in volleyball, softball, and of course wrestling. So, medals already in contention in both wrestling and swimming, and also VA. So 75 medals in total on offer on day one, which is on Monday, with 25 gold, 25 silver, and 25 bronze. So we already beginning to see some of the countries that were predicted to be dominant in their respective spots, and Tahiti already making a mark, with, of course, Samoa also in there, winning gold, with Wallis and Futuna, Papua New Guinea, and Fiji claiming the other medals in the early VA or outrigger competition in Coro.
How are the different teams finding Palau and the experience they're going through there?
Yes, reaction from the different national contingents have been positive. We've been seeing a lot of updates through the respective team contingents, Fiji, Papua New Guinea, Vanuatu, are the teams that are there, the countries that are represented there. And it's early days, but definitely a lot of excitement in the air as regional athletes try to adapt to the weather and the environment around Coro and the different competition venues. The game is always an exciting environment because you have different people from different countries having the opportunity to get to know each other off the field, so to speak. And of course, the competition on the field, in the waters, on the mats, at the different venues, in the different spots. There are also a good number of media personnel who are also in Coro from the region to provide coverage of the event. And of course, RNZ Pacific will have our own Coco Lunch there in 2 days' time to be bringing us updates on the ground. But generally, it has been positive. There's a lot of excitement. And of course, the people of Palau turning on a show in hosting the best that we have from around the region at the Pacific Mini Games.
Thank you, Ili. And just to wrap up our Talanoa, are you able to give us a run through of what the competition program is going to be like over the next few days?
Yes, definitely. With the games beginning off and then rolling into the second and third day into the midweek, archery and basketball will be having the respective competition going on from Tuesday, from day 2. That will have 96 medals up for grabs on day 2 with 32 each for gold, silver, and bronze. And then table tennis, weightlifting, and 3x3 basketball will be added on day 3. And a lot more finals in swimming, a lot more finals in wrestling and table tennis and weightlifting, with with that coming in on Wednesday. Definitely interesting to see how the athletes perform and who will begin to dominate as far as the medal tally is concerned from midweek. So the second day, the third day, and going into the weekend will have a lot of interesting competition. And I think definitely by Thursday, Friday, we should have a fair indication of who is dominating on the medal tally.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, tō whā soifua.